Terence Crawford's name has been called out by many fighters, but he recently responded to a fight offer from Canelo Alvarez. Ever since his bout with Errol Spence, numerous challengers have been calling him out. Terence has even expressed interest in a few potential matchups. He stated, "Now that fight between us could happen because we're in the same weight class, but at this point, I'm looking for bigger and better opportunities like Jermell Charlo. I gave him a little piece of my mind. We've been going back and forth for some time, and in the moment, I just thought to let him know that I'm coming for him too. I really don't care for the dude. I wouldn't say I dislike him because I have no reason to, but I just don't care for him." In fact, after his fight against Errol Spence, Terence made sure to call out Jermell Charlo, not worrying about who saw it. Crawford has set clear limits on the weight classes he's willing to move up to. He stated, "I would say 154 is my highest weight class. Realistically, those boys get big up there, and I'm not the type to toot my own horn and claim I could beat the world. I understand that weight classes exist for a reason, and I respect that. Given my age, I'm about to turn 36 in September, I have to take that into consideration as well. I think 154 will be my maximum." Many fans are eager to see Terence fight Canelo Alvarez, but several boxing experts believe it wouldn't be a fair matchup. Shakur Stevenson shared his thoughts, saying, "Terence Crawford is running things right now. As for who he should face next, I'd love to see him go up against Charlo. Even though Charlo is already lined up against Canelo, I genuinely believe Crawford could beat Canelo. Being a southpaw with good movement and solid boxing skills, it would be tough for Canelo to walk him down and load up on his powerful hooks. I wish Charlo wasn't fighting Canelo, but it is what it is. I think Bud could beat Canelo. I don't believe size wins fights, I think skills do." Shane Mosley, however, believes Canelo would simply be too big for Crawford. He stated, "If Canelo and Bud were the same size, Bud would have the advantage. But Canelo is naturally much bigger, stronger, and faster. I'd have to give the edge to Canelo in that situation, but I wouldn't say he's a better fighter than Bud, he's just bigger." Meanwhile, Andre Berto believes Terence could take on Canelo, but only after a fight with Jermell Charlo. He said, "I'd say Jermell Charlo for the 154-pound undisputed titles first, then Canelo, and after that, goodbye to boxing. That's a $100 million play." People saying Crawford is too small for Canelo don't really understand boxing. They said the same thing about Floyd versus Canelo. Canelo isn't a huge guy, he's small for 168. Crawford is taller, has a longer reach, and still has room to fill out. Skills pay the bills. Some believe Errol Spence might push for an immediate rematch before anything else, but Stephen A. Smith thinks Crawford should wait before taking that on.
A matter of fact, let me make a plea over the international digital airwaves of YouTube. Let me make a plea right now to Terence Crawford. I understand you just beat him. You beat him thoroughly. You're the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, the WBO, the WBA, the WBC, the IBF titles, but you hugged him after the fight for a reason. I am making a plea to Terence Crawford. Even if you elect to give Errol Spence Jr. a rematch, please do not do this for at least a year. Please don't do that.
Before Canelo can potentially face Crawford, he first has to get past the fighter Crawford really wants, Jermell Charlo. That matchup has both fans and boxing analysts divided, meaning Terence could end up fighting whoever wins that bout. Jose Benavidez Sr. weighed in on the situation, saying, "Jermell? Now that's a different story. Every time I see him, he's always drinking, and I hear he's going through a lot in his life. I don't know for sure, but it seems like something is going on. He hasn't fought in almost 2 or 3 years, so there has to be a reason for that. I think his brother, Jermell, has a much better chance of beating Canelo. In my opinion, Jermell would definitely get stopped by Canelo." Terence, however, believes that Canelo will ultimately beat Jermell in their fight. He stated, 168 pounds. "I'm not going up there. Definitely, Canelo wins if they're fighting at 168 pounds. Tim Tszyu wasn't thrilled about the announcement of Canelo versus Charlo, but he also sees Canelo coming out on top. He shared, "I was at home, saw it on Instagram, and thought, nah, they're taking the piss, aren't they?" Then I checked Canelo's page, and it said Undisputed versus Undisputed. I thought, what? I called my manager, but nobody picked up, so I called my promoter, and they explained. Then my manager explained. I was in shock, I couldn't believe it. But after a few days of being angry, I moved on. When one door closes, another opens, and I'm 100% sure there are bigger things ahead for me than little Charlo. Once he steps into the ring against Canelo, I think he'll be stripped right away. This fight is being marketed as Undisputed versus Undisputed, but we all know how boxing works. I'll be the WBO World Champion afterward, 100% guaranteed. Canelo, on the other hand, seems fully prepared for his fight against Jermell and even sent a cold message to him. "Let me tell you one thing, I don't need to get ready because I'm always ready." Bob Arum doesn't think the fight will go the distance and confidently shared his prediction. Canelo will beat him easily. Charlo's not little Charlo, no. Canelo will probably knock him out in 6 or 7 rounds. Interview 3.
I'm ready to fight Canelo at any given time. Yeah. Even though I'm undisputed and got mandatories all over the place, I'll fight Canelo just so they could shut that.
Jermell Charlo believes he hits harder than Canelo Alvarez. He confidently stated, "I believe I have the speed, I have the power. One thing about Canelo, he's strong. But I feel like I'm probably a bigger puncher than Canelo. That's going to be the surprise. I'm not just a little 154-pounder when I walk around, and I don't have to struggle to make 168, so I'm going to have a great time. Training camp has been good, I've already been training for months." However, former champion Sean Porter doesn't see Jermell being much of a challenge for Canelo. He explained, "When you look at experience, when you look at the fact that Canelo has been multidimensional throughout his career, and you consider his work rate, it's clear. We're looking at a right hand from Jermell Charlo, and if that right hand doesn't land between rounds 1 and 8, it probably won't land at all. Canelo will win this fight. I don't see him losing to Charlo. Since Charlo could potentially face whoever wins that match, Crawford has already given his thoughts on fighting Canelo. He stated, "No, not at all. Canelo really doesn't interest me because of the size factor. You never know what weight Canelo is fighting at when he fights." As for what's next, Terence has made it clear that he's open to a potential rematch if Errol Spence requests it. He explained, "That's my obligation in the contract, and I've got to honor that. If that's the next move for me and my career, I'll do it. But after that, I would definitely choose Jermell Charlo. It's a meaningful fight, it's more history, and there's more on the table."